and last name and spell them both.
Kimberlee, Kimberlee, Guillory, Guillory.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, we're just being turned off.
Okay, that's fine, please. Hate to do this, but we're gonna take the blinds down now. Okay, so, Mr. Demora, this is direct examination.
Hey, Charlie. Good afternoon.
Hello?
Right now,
Hold on just a second.
oh,
Ms. Guillory, could you pull that mic down closer to you, maybe scoot in a little bit?
Sure.
I just want to make sure we're able to pick you up.
How's that?
That's much better.
Okay.
Thanks. All right, Counsel.
thank you, Ron. Gilroy, thank you for being here. So I want to ask you a couple of questions about yourself, and then I want to go to May 1st of 2023. And tell us, how old are you? I don't mean to be rude when
It's
I ask
okay.
that question.
I don't have a problem with it. I'm 66.
Where are you currently living?
I live in Davis.
Where are you staying?
I have a home now.
When you say you have a home now, back in May of 2023, did you have a home or were you unhoused?
No, I was in-housed.
Leading up to, and I'll just get to it, you were stabbed on May 1st of 2023.
Yes.
Prior to that stabbing, where were you staying when you were unhoused?
Kind of random places. Sometimes we would just move to a different place. Sometimes we would have to be told we had to move.
When you say we would move, who were you talking about? Who's we?
Well, usually I had friends around me. I tried to always be with somebody so I wasn't alone.
Did you have a group of people that you usually would move with?
Kinda. It just depended. I'm kind of a needy person. I like things nice and neat, and a lot of homeless people don't live that way, so I had a hard time finding people that I could live that way with.
You're like all of us, we're kind of selective with our friends, right?
Yes.
Totally fair and understandable. Right before you were stabbed on May 1st, were you still living in Davis at that time?
Yes.
Where were you living at that point? Like what area of street?
I was on L Street, right where if you go down L Street from the shelter, the homeless shelter, it kind of curves around, and it was right there. It's actually PG&E property.
And so if I show you People's Exhibit 25, would you be able to point to on here where it was you were staying at the time?
Sure.
Mayor, take it on.
Okay.
Do you recognize that as a Google map?
Oh wow, that's weird. Okay, right here.
Okay, and
The curve goes around here. We were right in here.
okay, and let me put this on the overhead map, or excuse me, the overhead projector for you. I think there's a laser pointer up there.
Do you want to grab that black pen like, yes, and then
Oh.
point it at the screen over there.
I wondered what that
And
was.
press that button.
Okay.
So he's going to ask you to locate things like that.
Okay. Let's see that.
So, if you could with that laser pointer, where were you?
Oh, there. That's L Street right there. Okay, so it was down about this down here on this side.
Were you staying on?
I believe, unless it might have been right here. I'm backwards. That's where it's at. 'Cause that's where the road goes.
Let me just reference you for a second. The railroad tracks are on the bottom of the screen. Does that help you?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's where it was. It was right in here.
Okay.
There we go. Right, and about how long have you been living in that area?
We had only been there a couple days.
Where were you staying beforehand?
By the railroad tracks down by off of I don't know what it's called. I came from West Sacramento, so I wasn't real familiar with this area.
And that's okay. I personally don't know most landmarks. I will tell you, hey, turn by McDonald's or something like that, and I won't be able to tell you streets or anything like that. So you're in good company with us.
Thank you.
What led, when you moved to Second and L, the PG&E station, why did you move there?
Well, I came from West Sacramento. I was my daughter had been sick. She lived in Napa, and I was taking care of her, and she passed away. And I took care of my grandson for about a year and a half after she passed away because he was only a year old. And then when I came home, my roommate had moved some guy into our house to help him, I guess, with the rent. And the guy had been robbing him, taking his money. He wasn't paying the rent. And when I came home, the landlord showed up 2 days later and said, if you are out in 4 days, we won't file an eviction. So I ended up on the street.
And so, was that when you ended up on the street where you were at the railroad tracks before going to L Street?
Well, the shelter didn't have, they only had so much money, so they didn't really have a place for you to sleep at night. So we just found random places to, be able to do that.
And so, when you got to L Street, why did you and the other your friends pick that location?
Because it was empty, there was nobody else around, and it was kind of clean. It was a nice place to put, your tent. And we usually broke down in the mornings though, and would go, come back later that night.
Where would you go when you'd break down? And I should ask first. When you say break down, you mean you would pick up your belongings and leave and go somewhere else?
Mm-hmm. Well, we'd just go and maybe leave it at the shelter until they got ready to close, and then we'd get it and carry it around until we were ready to put it up.
And what were you staying in at that time?
I was staying in my friend's tent, and he had another tent that he slept in.
I'll show you an image from People's Exhibit 24. It's going to be images, stipulation. Now, it's showing you image 749. 7496852 on People's Exhibit 24. Is this the area on L Street that you were staying?
It looks like it, yes.
And is that your tent?
I don't think so because I didn't have that thing next to me.
When you say that thing, what do you mean?
The green tent thing. That's whatever you call that, with the writing on it.
Oh, the canopy.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's all pretty much the same there. It just has random empty spaces.
well, that awning itself is not yours, right?
No.
Show you.
That doesn't look like the right kind of, but I don't know, they've got a tarp over the top of it or something over the top of it. It's just all open there.
Okay, well, forget the tarp itself that's over it.
Mhm.
Does that look like your tent where you were staying?
Yes,
And who owned that tent? You said it was your friend's tent?
my friend's tent.
Who was your friend?
Larry,
What's Larry's last name?
I don't know.
That is okay. So, in that area, that's the area on L Street where you and your friends had set up.
Yes. There was 3 of us. Oh, 4.
Including you or three?
4, there's 4 of us, because there was a couple.
Who's that couple?
Isaac and Christine.
And who was the other individual?
And Larry, and then me.
Do you know Mr. Osorio?
Yes, I do.
Was he
He
staying-
actually was down at the very end, but I don't know if he was there that night. I don't know.
You say he was down at the very end.
Yeah, coming from the shelter, he was at the very end there. It's like 1 block.
And so closer to 3rd Street and L Street?
Mm-hmm.
And is that a yes?
Yes.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. You're nervous, I take it.
Yes.
It's okay. We get nervous asking questions, and I know we get nervous answering them too. So it's just for amount of court reporters that you can take that down. And so when he's a little bit further up, he wasn't part of, you wouldn't consider him part of your group where you were staying.
No.
So I want to go to May 1st of 2023, right? Can you go with me there?
Mm-hmm.
Now, around 11:45, 11:46 p.m., where were you at that time?
I think I was visiting a friend, and then I came home. Well, came to my tent.
Okay, well, let's start at the beginning of the evening. Okay. Actually, let's start at the beginning of the day. So do you remember how you started your day that day?
Usually I would go to the shelter, take a shower, do some laundry, and get dressed for the day, and then I would go do random things, maybe go get something to eat, go to the park. Not a whole lot.
And at some point, well, I should say, during your day, did you break down, and did you and your friends break down your camp, kind of like you had just described?
Yes.
When did you go back there that day on May 1st?
I believe it was probably around 7, 8 o'clock at night. I'm not really sure. Everybody was already asleep. So it might have been 9 o'clock.
Was it already dark outside?
Yes. I think.
At some point, when you got back there, did you leave to go to In-N-Out Burger or get food?
No. Not that night. I don't think.
What were, when you got back, did you stay, actually, I should say, when you got back, what did you do?
I went into my tent and I just sat down, and I had my phone, so I was looking at my phone. I had my back up against the side of the tent. Everybody else was already asleep.
Was Larry in the tent with you?
No, he was in his own tent right next to me, though. Real close.
What was the lighting like at that time?
It was pretty dark.
Did you have, in the encampment, did you have lights, like light sources, like lamps or anything like that?
I don't think so, not then, not at that time, because we had just started staying there. So, and Larry, that was actually his tent. He let me use it, and he had another one that he was using. And no, I was in the dark in my tent. Except for my.
Stop right there and let's talk about this tent a little bit. The tent itself, did it appear to be in good condition?
I guess it was okay, yeah.
Okay, and
It seemed like it was fairly new.
Did it have any like cuts or holes or anything in it?
No.
Did it have, in looking at this image right here in 7496981, looking at this, how did you get into the tent? I mean, like, where was the opening?
That was it was sitting just like that basically, but the opening was on the other side.
And when you say the other side,
It was actually kind of on this side.
Right, how about with the laser pointer, if you can point to which side?
Oh, I'm
it's on?
sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, right there was the back of it, and then right here on this side was the opening for to go in. That wasn't there.
Okay, so let me ask you, when you say the opening to get in, are you pointing to the side where that string is?
Yeah, there was a door right there.
And then when you say that wasn't there, what were you referring to?
Oh, the opening right there. It was over on the side.
Next to the sidewalk.
Yes. No, on the inside of the where the trees are.
Oh,
It was on the other side. Yes.
got it. So
Sorry.
facing that wall to the PG&E.
Yes.
So when you're sitting in your tent, did you have, when you say you were on your phone, did you have a lamp or anything else in there?
No, the phone kind of lit it up.
If you can, let me see. Switch pages quickly. All right, on People's 24, that is 7496984. Okay, so we're looking at this different angles, same tent.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us, in looking at this, where you were sitting in your tent?
I was sitting in the back of it, and the door was on the side.
Were you sitting, you were pointing to the left, the upper left-hand side. Were you sitting where this, the hole in the tent is?
Okay, no. Yes, that's where I was sitting. That was all solid. And around this way was the door. And I usually I had my bed right there.
Okay, so that's my question to you.
Mhm.
Your bed and where you're sitting was right where this hole in the tent is.
Yes, but it was solid there. There was no opening.
Now, when you were sitting there, was your back up against the fabric?
Yes,
Did
it
you feel
was.
the fabric against you?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
And how long did you sit in that position, just on your phone?
I don't think I was there very long. Maybe 15 minutes.
While you were there, did you hear anything outside in the area?
Didn't hear a thing.
When you had gotten back to to your tent and where you were staying, had you talked with any of your friends that were there?
No, they were asleep when I got back.
When you were there, or when you got back there and when you were sitting in your tent, was it raining at the time, or was it not raining?
No, it wasn't. As far as I remember, it wasn't raining.
So, Guillory, as you're sitting there on your phone, did something happen while you're sitting there too?
Yes. Somebody came, excuse me, up behind me where I was sitting outside, and they came down with a knife and cut my tent. And at the time, I wasn't sure that I was getting stabbed. I thought somebody was punching me at first.
Let me stop you. Stop you right there. You never left your tent, right?
No.
Were you expecting any visitors?
No.
Were you still seated on the ground? When you said it felt like someone was punching you, I want to go through that quickly. How many times?
3 times.
Is that what it felt like?
Mm-hmm. First time it took my breath away, and then it just continued.
When the first time it took your breath away, how did it feel? And when I asked how it felt, was it soft, or did it feel like someone just...
Like somebody just punched me really hard in the back.
Could you feel in your back where you thought you had been punched?
Yeah, and kind of close to my waist.
If you could stand up and point to that area, if you wouldn't mind.
Right here is where it felt,
And
in this area here.
the record pointing towards your lower back.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes. Sorry.
It's okay. All right, so you get hit the first time. How quickly was the next, what you described all like?
It was pretty quick. I wasn't even sure that I was being stabbed at the time. I just felt like somebody was punching me really hard in my back at first.
Did it immediately hurt?
It took a couple seconds after the first blow, but yeah, it started to hurt.
How did you react?
I started screaming very loudly, and then I laid down because I guess Larry and Isaac.
Objection.
Sustained.
Yeah, I only want you to tell us what you
Oh.
know at the time.
Well, that's what I was going to say, that they came running towards me, and that's when they grabbed him and started fighting with him, trying to get a hold of him.
Sustained.
Yeah, we're going to go, oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, just one of the objections sustained and the answer is stricken.
We're going to go through a series of questions on this.
Okay.
And if I cut you off, I'm not trying to be rude.
No, it's okay.
Just have a follow-up question to that. All right, so you start screaming loudly. If you could describe for us, were you screaming like words, or were you screaming just...
I was screaming help.
You know, this may seem like a silly question, but why were you screaming for help?
Because he was continuing to stab me. I didn't know who it was or why they were doing it.
As soon as you screamed, you mentioned that you lay down. Did you lay down? Let me ask you, why did you lay down?
Because I was hurting inside.
Did anyone respond to your cries for help?
Yes, Larry and Isaac did.
Ms. Guillory, were you able to see, did the person who did this to you, did they ever come inside your tent?
No.
Did this person ever say anything to you?
No, they did not.
As you were laying there, could you hear what was going on outside your tent?
I could see them.
When you say you could see them, who were you talking to?
Larry and Isaac.
Did you see what they were doing?
They were like wrestling with him.
When you say him, who are you referring to?
Mr. Dominguez.
You just looked over and nodded at Mr. Dominguez. Do you recognize Mr. Dominguez?
Yes, I do.
Do you recognize Mr. Dominguez from May 1st, or do you recognize Mr. Dominguez from...
From May 1st.
If you could, just point to and describe an article of clothing he's wearing.
Suit and tie.
Well, can you give a little bit of description?
A black suit.
Off to my left.
Yes.
Now, Ms. Guillory, when you were watching this, how do you realize that something had happened to you that was more than a punch?
Not until after they were done. He somehow got away from them and took off running. And
Foundation, personal knowledge.
Lay a foundation for it, certainly.
When did you figure out that what had happened to you was more than a punch?
I stood up after he had took off, and I turned around, and Isaac said, "Oh my God, you're bleeding." And then all of a sudden I felt blood just gush out of my back, the back of me. And that's when it really started to hurt. So I was pretty much laying on the floor when the ambulance showed up.
Did the pain increase at that point?
Yes.
Did you call 911?
I believe I did.
Is it a little bit hard to remember that because of pain or anything?
Yes.
Who, was there another, you mentioned, I believe Christine was also there?
I never saw Christine, though. I don't know if she came out of the tent or not. I just saw Larry and Isaac.
Did someone call 911 with you?
They may have. I wasn't really aware of what was, other than what I could see right there in front of me.
Did you ever lose consciousness or anything like that?
Yes, I did. After I actually dialed my daughter's number, and she answered the phone, and I said, "I've just been stabbed." And she goes, "Oh my God." And then the ambulance driver took the phone out of my hand. From that point, I must have lost consciousness because I don't even remember them putting me in the ambulance. I don't remember anything until waking up in the hospital.
looking at this exhibit and this photograph right here, you mentioned that when you got to your tent on May 1st of 2023, that cut in it wasn't there. Is that right?
No.
You know, did this happen because of the attack on you?
Was that my tent? I don't remember what color it was, because I'd only been slept in it one night. But it had a zipper for the door.
But no other cuts in it?
No, no other cuts.
When you looked out and you said you saw Isaac and Larry, did you look out of this hole in the tent, or did you look
Yes.
out of something else?
Out of the hole.
How long, did you see Isaac and Larry, once they responded to your call for help? How long did you see them fighting with Mr. Dominguez?
A couple minutes.
Did it seem that long? It could have been a little bit less.
It could have been a little less. Everything happened so quickly.
How long did you spend in the hospital, Mr. Howard?
I'm not sure. It was several weeks, I believe. The knife chopped up my kidney and my liver, so they had to reconstruct it or something.
Did you have to have surgery?
Yes.
How many?
I have no idea. I wasn't even really coherent through a lot of it. It wasn't until I came out of the anesthesia and everything. But it was pretty long. I think I was in there a few days. I mean, at least a week or two.
And glad you're here today. How long did it take for you to recover?
It took me about a month or two from the surgeries and everything.
Just to make sure I clarify this. The campsite where you're staying, that was in the city of Davis, correct?
Yes.
In Guillory County?
Yes.
So I want to ask you, when we're talking about who stabbed you and the injuries you got from that, afterwards, did you watch the news and news reports on the investigation?
No, I did not.
Did you ever see pictures of Mr. Carlos Dominguez in the news or anything like that?
No.
Did anyone ever show you pictures of him or say, hey, this is the guy that law enforcement arrested?
No, they did not.
And I ask you that just because sometimes we take things we learn afterwards and we use them to fill in details that we may not be familiar with at the time. And just want to ask you, do you remember talking to a couple of police officers
Yes, I do. They came to the hospital and talked to me.
And did you tell one of the police officers that the suspect came out of nowhere, the person who stabbed you came out of nowhere?
I don't think I worded it like that. It happened so quickly. I didn't know where he came from. I didn't hear him outside my tent or anything. It wasn't until he cut the tent and started stabbing me that I realized. And even then, I wasn't sure what was going on.
And when you said, why do you say that he cut the tent? And take us through that. Describe that to us.
I guess I must have looked up because I remember seeing him come down and he was cutting my tent all in one motion, and the knife, he started stabbing me.
Fair to say, like, there was no hole there before, and then there was a hole afterward.
Right.
And during that, do you remember telling the officer that you weren't able to see the person's face who did this to you?
No, I don't remember telling him that. I did actually see his face at one point while they were wrestling with him. I remember he was looking at me and while I was on the floor, and he was kind of like, looked angry. But it was very brief.
See, very brief. How? Take us through that. How quickly, or?
Long enough for me to see his face because I described him to the officer.
Now, you play People's Exhibit 31B. And we have a stipulation, Your Honor.
Okay. Transfers?
Yes.
Court exhibit next in order, please, 4. Yep. Sure. One for the witness. Thank you, Deputy.
Switch it to our table.
Oh my God, I'm done. David, oh my God.
See, she was for Ellen's second. I was in a tent and she was assaulted.
I'm hurting, you guys.
Okay, you're calling from Ellen 2nd Street?
I'm sorry.
You're calling from L and 2nd Street?
Second Street, and just where the turn is as PG&E.
Okay, so are you the one, listen to me, are you the one that was assaulted?
Yes,
What happened?
I don't know, he just ripped open the can and started punching me, and then he went to one of the other tents in the other tent.
Okay, do you know who it is?
I have no idea, lady.
No, okay, you're rude.
We're fucking Aaron right now.
Is it a male?
Can you talk to this woman, please? Can somebody talk to this woman on the phone? I'm hurting really bad. Okay.
Ms. Guillory, was that you on the 911?
Yes.
We'll collect the transcripts.
Guillory, do you need a moment?
No, I'm okay.
Okay, I'm almost done.
It's okay.
Was that what we heard on the 911? Was that immediately after you'd been attacked?
Yes. At that point, I didn't know I had been stabbed.
Were you in a lot of pain at that point?
Yeah.
Was it getting worse?
Hmm.
Was that a yes?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay, you don't have to apologize. And once you were able to make that call, were your friends that you had been living with in that area, were they all around you in that area?
I think they were. They weren't right in front of me at that point. They were kind of over by, I think, Isaac and Christine's. I think they were still wrestling with him. I'm not sure. They weren't right in my sight.
And prior to being attacked, that night on May 1st, 2023, did you have any fights or negative interactions or words with anyone?
No.
Thank you. No further questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. DeMora. And Mr. Hutchinson, cross-examination.
Good afternoon, Ms. Guillory.
Hello.
My name is Dan Hutchinson. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask you some questions, almost all of which can be answered with a yes or no response.
Okay.
Unless I specify, I only want to know what you personally observed, what you personally heard based on your memory, not what other people told you.
Sure.
So there were 3 tents in your immediate camp area.
Yes.
You were in the tent we saw right there? Yes?
Yes.
Do you, we're assuming that's your tent, but do you recognize that as the tent you were staying in? Is there anything that you saw in the photos that makes you remember that was the tent I was in?
Well, I don't really recognize it because it was not mine. It was my friend Larry's, who was right next to me. So.
And that is Larry Pilot?
Uh-huh.
So that is his last name,
Yes.
P-I-L-A-T?
Pilot. Yes.
And he's still in Davis.
Yes, he is.
So he had a tent in the immediate area that he was staying in,
He was right next to me.
and no one else was in Larry's tent.
No, there was no one else.
And then there was a third tent that was occupied by 2 individuals.
Which were Isaac and Christine.
That's Isaac Cheeseman.
I guess so. I never knew his last name.
His name is Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
Is he
Yes.
still in Davis?
Yes, they are.
And his significant other, her name is Christine Barrios.
Yes.
And so all 3 of those individuals are still in Davis.
As far as I know, they are. I haven't spoken to them for a while.
But to the best of your knowledge, they're still unhoused
In
in Davis?
Davis, yes.
And you were asked about a Mr. Osorio, Albert Osorio?
Oh, Albert, yes.
You don't know Albert's last name?
No, I did not.
Do you know someone by the name of Albert?
Yes, I know Albert.
And he had a tent a little bit farther away?
About 4 or 5 sections away, yes.
By section, what do you mean?
Well, they kind of had, plants and stuff in between.
So he was down closer to 3rd Street.
He was right by 3rd Street, yes.
Did you know someone named John Weddle?
No,
Did you know anyone named John who was there that night?
no, I do not.
You were sitting in your tent with your back up against the side of the tent that would be facing north,
Yes.
and you were looking at your iPhone,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and you said that the phone lit up the tent.
I'm assuming it did, yes. It did what I could see.
And you've seen from living unhoused where people are looking on a phone and it lights up the tent and creates a shadow.
Yes.
And so, based on that prior experience, the fact that you were looking at your phone, you believed your silhouette would be projected behind you.
Yes, I do.
And as you were sitting there, that's when you felt the punch.
Yes.
And you initially believed it was you had just been punched.
Yes, I did.
Even when you called 911, you said you had, at that point, you didn't realize you'd been stabbed.
Yes.
It was later that people pointed out you were bleeding.
I stood up and Isaac was standing behind me, I guess, and he said, "Oh my God, you're bleeding."
So, before you called 911, you said you saw Mr. Carlos Dominguez coming down with his hand.
Well, that's just, I don't know if I actually saw it, but that's how the tent kind of opened up at that point. But then, things happened so quickly.
So, and I understand why you would assume that, but let's focus on what you actually saw. Did you actually, when you felt the punch, did you actually turn around and see him coming down with his hand?
No, I did not.
So did you ever see a knife?
I did not.
And it's your testimony, as I understand today, that you, after you had been punched, you turned around and you saw a person you now recognize as Carlos Dominguez fighting with Isaac and Larry?
With Larry, I don't know if Isaac was there, but I saw Larry.
So you saw Larry fighting with Mr. Carlos Dominguez?
Yes.
So you only saw, when you looked outside, you only saw 2 people, Mr. Carlos Dominguez and Larry.
Yes.
And it's your testimony today that the person you saw fighting with Larry, you recognize that person as being Carlos Dominguez.
Yes, I do.
And that's not based on what people told you, that's based on your independent memory today?
Yes. His hair was much longer and curly.
When you were taken to the hospital, do you recall an officer named Matt Muscardini speaking with you?
Yes, I do.
Did you know that he was recording your conversation?
No.
Did you recall Mr. Detective Muscardini asking you for a description of the individual?
Yes, I do.
Did you tell him, quote, "I didn't really get a good look at him"?
I may have said that.
Did you tell Detective Muscardini that the man was white with blonde hair?
No, I did not.
At any point, have you ever told Detective Muscardini that the man who attacked you had blonde hair?
I don't remember saying that. I don't know why I would have.
Do you remember seeing blonde hair?
No.
When Mr. Reales Dominguez was ultimately arrested, do you recall Detective Muscardini calling you to tell you there'd been an arrest?
No.
Do you recall someone calling to tell you that there'd been an arrest?
I had several officers come and speak to me.
At some point, did anyone advise you there'd been an arrest in the case?
I don't remember. I was pretty out of it.
Did you at any point ask any officer if the person who was arrested had blonde hair?
No, I don't remember saying that. I don't know why I would have.
Did you remember if Detective Muscardini asked you if you could give a description of the person's clothing?
No, I don't remember that.
Did you tell him, I can't know, I didn't really get a look at it, everything kind of happened so quickly?
Yes.
Did you recall, now, as you testified here today, you said you actually saw Mr. Reales Dominguez's face.
Yes.
Did you tell Detective Muscardini 2 times on the day of May at the hospital, quote, I didn't see his face?
No, I don't remember that.
Did you tell Detective Muscardini, when he asked you about what clothing he was wearing, that you didn't see the rest of his body either?
I just remember seeing his face.
Do you know why you would have told Detective Muscardini you didn't see his face and he had blonde hair?
No, I don't remember why I would have said that.
Now, you recall telling Detective Muscardini you think the person might have been wearing shorts from someone who walked by earlier.
I said that?
I'm asking you if you remember saying that.
No, I don't remember saying that.
Ma'am, within the last couple of weeks, did you meet with the prosecutors to my right and other individuals to discuss kind of the procedure for testifying?
I don't think so.
Okay. Mr. Vanderhook, the gentleman,
Oh, I did meet them, and we didn't really go over a whole lot of anything. He just told me.
did you tell them sometimes there are things well, when did you meet with them? Was it within the last 2 weeks?
Yes.
Did you tell them did they tell you they were recording the conversation?
I don't remember if they did or not.
Did you tell them sometimes there are things I remember about that day that I'm not even sure if they even happened?
Yes.
Because after the assault and after you got out of the hospital, you did have other conversations with people about what happened.
I'm sure I did.
And is it your testimony, ma'am, that in the last 2 years, you've never seen any television article or television story or any news article that had Mr. Reales Dominguez's photo on it? You've never seen a photo with him?
Later on, I did. Maybe once. I really don't watch that much television.
But do you have a phone with internet?
Yes.
Have you ever searched and read any articles about Mr. Reales Dominguez after his arrest?
No. I may have seen a paper at the shelter or something, but I don't know if he was in it.
Isaac now you had gone, you think you'd been visiting a friend that evening?
I had to walk everywhere, so it takes time to walk from one place to another, but
When you got back to the tents, Larry was already in his tent asleep.
yes,
And Isaac and Christine were already in their tent asleep.
as far as I know, yes.
You don't remember seeing anybody when you arrived back at your tent.
No, I did not.
But after the assault, Isaac told you that the person who stabbed you had been there a few hours earlier.
I didn't hear that until I got out of the hospital.
When you got out of the hospital, Isaac was the one, did Isaac tell you that?
That, I'm sorry, repeat what he,
Did someone tell you after you got out of the hospital that the person who stabbed you had been at the tent site approximately 2.5, 3 hours earlier scoping it out?
well, he told me that there was someone he heard snapping outside of their tent, him and Christine's tent, and he said he touched the side of the wall and it was hard, and I guess he jumped up and unzipped the, but this was way later.
Way later that Isaac told you about this?
Yes, it was quite a while.
But Isaac told you that the person who stabbed you had been there 2.5 hours earlier.
Yes,
And Isaac told you that he and Mr. Osorio had chased this individual.
I don't know. He just said he did. He didn't say anybody else. He didn't say Larry or. I didn't even know that we actually referred to him as Chino, but I had no idea that he was even there.
Did Mr. Osorio, you refer to him as, you said Chino?
We called him Chino.
But when you got out of the hospital, Mr. Dominguez had already been arrested.
Yes.
So Mr. Cheeseman told you that Mr. Dominguez had been at the campsite 2.5 hours earlier, pushing on the tent, and that he had chased him. That's what Mr. Cheeseman told you.
Is that Isaac's last name?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we were actually talking to a reporter that had come to talk to me, and that's when he said that they had wrestled with him and he ran off, and I guess he ran across the street and was hiding behind the trees.
So Isaac, and this is what Isaac is telling the reporter, is about 2.5, 3 hours earlier before you were stabbed, that Mr. Dominguez had been there and that Isaac had chased him and wrestled with him.
I guess so, yes.
Isaac told you this.
He was telling, yeah, I heard him saying it to the reporter.
And when Isaac told you this, you believed it, correct?
Yes.
And when you met with the district attorneys within the last 2 weeks, just a moment. Did you tell them at the very beginning, makes me sick that he is crying, mental? I mean, yeah, after stabbing 2 people, as many as he did. Do you recall saying that?
Yes.
And you also repeated during that conversation, you told them about how he had been there 2.5 hours earlier, scoping out. You remember bringing that up?
No.
Ma'am, at any point before today, has anyone from law enforcement told you that the person who Isaac chased was not Mr. Dominguez? Has anyone ever told you that?
No, they have not.
Has anyone ever told you that the person who Isaac chased was a person named Khalid Siddiqui who'd worked at Steve's Pizza?
No. Nobody told me that.
And you've had contact with law enforcement in the last 2 years, correct?
Yes.
And during that entire 2 years, you've been under the belief that Mr. Dominguez was at your campsite 2.5, 3 hours earlier, correct? That was your belief?
That's what I was told, yes. But it was a while later. It was several months later. I hadn't had any contact with anybody.
And that caused you to believe, well, of course he planned this because he was there 3 hours earlier, correct?
I figured he probably saw me come back.
And until this day, do you still believe that Mr. Dominguez was at your camp 2.5 hours earlier and was chased by Isaac, right?
Yes.
Anyone ever even mentioned to you the name Khalid Siddiqui?
No.
Has anyone ever told you that what Isaac told you was not true?
No.
Did you expect that if what Isaac said was determined not to be true, that someone from law enforcement would have told you?
Objection, speculation.
I don't understand the question.
Can you move the mic back?
As the victim of a crime, you've been advised that you have certain rights, correct?
Yes.
You have what is called a victim advocate who consults with you throughout this process,
Sort of.
to some extent, correct?
Yes.
Was it your belief, and you conveyed to the district attorney your belief that Mr. Carlos Dominguez had been at your campsite 2.5 hours earlier and had scoped it out?
Yes.
Did you bring it up in that meeting within the last 2 weeks?
I don't know. I mean, I just assumed that he must have been still out there when I came back, and that's because I wasn't there very long before it happened. So I don't know.
But when you brought it up, during the meeting with the two prosecutors, did they ever tell you that Mr. Carlos Dominguez was not at the campsite 2.5-3 hours earlier, but it was a man named Khalid Siddiqui? Did they ever tell you that?
No.
Did you expect that someone would have told you that what Mr. Cheeseman said, what Ida said, was not true once they determined that?
I would have thought
Objection,
somebody would.
relevance, argumentative.
But your belief that Mr. Carlos Dominguez was at the campsite 2.5-3 hours earlier, scoping you out, that certainly has affected how you feel about this case, correct?
I only figured he saw me because I wasn't home very long before it happened. I mean, I was just there like maybe 10-15 minutes when the attack happened. I didn't know any of that for months until I was out of the hospital, and I was in there for quite a while. And I just remember what I remember. I do remember him looking at me, though, with this look like this, like he was angry that he wasn't able to continue doing what he was doing.
And that look, it was not someone with blonde hair. It was someone with...
No, I don't know where the blonde hair come from. I don't remember ever saying that.
Is there a reason why you would have lied to Mr. Muscardini and told him you saw blonde hair?
No.
Objection, argumentative on live.
Sustained. Answer stricken. Rephrase.
When the officer was speaking to you at the hospital, you knew no one had been arrested. They told you they were trying to find the person who did this to you. Right?
Correct.
So you knew it was important to give the officer the true information to the best of your recollection.
I don't know why I would have said he had blonde hair, because I knew that his hair was black, curly, and coming down in his face. He looked straight at me with this angry look, like he didn't get to finish what he started. That's how I took it, the look, when he looked at me that way.
If he looked straight at you, why did you tell Detective Muscardini twice, 2 times during the interview, quote, "I didn't see his face"?
I don't know. Because I've gotten memories of things that's why I said I'm not, there were times that I wasn't sure exactly.
When you said you were getting memories, was that what you were referring to as sometimes there are things I remember that I'm not even sure if they happened?
Yes. But they were so vivid, I don't know. Everything happened so quickly, and it was so scary. I had no idea why somebody would be hurting me.
Do you recall giving a television interview approximately a year after your assault, where they interviewed you about what happened?
I had a couple interviews at the park.
You were sitting at the park speaking with a reporter,
Yes.
and this was approximately a year anniversary of what had happened to you.
Okay.
Well, do you remember when that interview was approximately?
Not exactly, no.
It was at a park?
Yes,
You were speaking to a reporter?
yes,
You had your dog with you?
yes.
Did you tell the reporter, if I do testify, I want to be in front of him, and I want him to know that I'm not going to stop until he gets life in prison, at least without parole? Do you recall saying that?
I may have.
Do you think your desire to see that outcome may have affected your memories of what you actually saw?
No,
When you gave that interview, at that point, you still believed, or at that point you believed what Isaac had told you about him being there 2.5, 3 hours earlier.
I'm not sure if I even knew at that point yet. I may have.
Did Isaac tell you before the ambulance arrived that he'd been here earlier?
No. Not that I remember.
Is Isaac kind of like an olive complexion?
He's white.
Is he white, or is he appear like he may be of mixed race?
I don't know. He
Does
just
he have
looks
a-
like a white boy to me.
Um,
I mean, I'm Portuguese and Spanish.
Does he have more of an olive complexion skin?
Not really.
No. And when you thought you saw, when you looked out, that you saw Larry in a physical struggle with Mr. Carlos Dominguez.
Yes.
Any chance you may have seen Larry in a physical struggle with Isaac and confused him with Mr. Carlos Dominguez?
I don't think so.
Nothing further, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hutchinson. That was cross. And then Mr. Demore, any redirect?
Ms. Guillory, did anyone tell you what you should and shouldn't believe prior to testifying?
No.
Did anyone tell you how you have to testify?
No.
Did anyone tell you that you need to say or do certain things?
No.
No further questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Demore. All right, Ms. Guillory, thank you for making time for the court and testifying. And have a great
Thank you.
day.